Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Mupereki, and I create content about everything to do with university life, nursing school, and international student experiences. So if this would be the type of content that you'd be interested in, definitely don't forget to subscribe down below. So over the past 3 weeks, I've been doing sort of a series of how to get back into the school year and prepare for it appropriately. The first video was about reflection of 2021. The second video was about how to prepare for an academic year and mostly about your physical space. And last week I gave you guys productivity tips on things that you can implement into your life so that you're the most productive during the course of the year. So to end off this series today, I'm going to be giving you guys study tips. I'm doing it early so that implementing the right steps and the right habits early on during the year so that you can implement it for the rest of the year. Studying occurs in three stages. There's the planning of it, the execution, and then the mindset that you need to have when studying. So first, when it comes to planning, it all starts with creating a study plan. You need to be creating a plan according to your deadlines, your assignments, your course outline, and everything else that is happening within your life. So your study plan is highly dependent on your habits, your schedules, and your routines, and your responsibilities at home, at school, outside of school, etc. etc. However, when it comes to creating a study plan, there's no standard on the amount of hours that you need to be spending to study. I know on YouTube there's a lot of videos about how I study for 8 hours on a daily basis. For me personally, in my own experience as a nursing student, it's not always possible to study for 8 hours on a daily basis, maximum 2 hours, because you've got placement and then you've got classes. After classes, you've got skills lab. And if you're like myself, you're traveling majority of the time, then you've got other commitments like you're going to work, you've got YouTube. So you do not always have that large amounts of time, and also you'll be exhausted. So what I can suggest for you is at least promise yourself that you're going to dedicate an hour, 90 minutes every day that you're going to be studying. It must be a manageable amount that you can do on a daily basis. And in the long run, at least by the end of the week, you would have done at least 7 to 10 hours of actually studying for that week than trying to sit for 10 hours on one day and trying to study. It's not always possible, and you're going to run out of motivation for that. And then when creating your study plan, be specific about what's going to happen during that study session. So you need to be specific about which module are you studying, what topic, which lecture slide are you going to be doing, which YouTube videos are you going to be doing, what past papers are you going to be doing. You need to be very specific about what things are going to happen in that study session. This will help you to stop procrastinating when you get to your study session, because most of us will procrastinate trying to look for videos, trying to look for documents, etc., and we waste time. So if things are already set up for yourself, you know you're going to sit and you get started because you know what exactly is going to happen. And how you decide how much work you do in a study session is it depends on the deadlines that you have. So let's say, for example, you've got a test in 2 weeks. We take out 2 days out of the 14 days, for you to rest. Weekends, we all need a day off and that sort of thing. So you've got 12 days and you've got 8 topics that you need to study for. So 12 divided by 8, that's about 1.5 topics that you need to be doing on a daily basis. You can group some topics that you end up doing 2 or 3 on one day, but as long as you know that at least in one day, in that 1.5 hour session that you have, you need to be covering 1.5 topics. In addition to that, before you do any task, do what is known as brain dumping. I've already discussed about this in my previous videos, but just essentially what it means is you need to put down all the things, all your thoughts that are in your head on a piece of paper so that they do not distract you when you get started. So when you're studying, I would highly suggest that you read through or browse through the previous days or the previous weeks information before you get into a new topic, and this will just help you to know what extra information you're adding on, and you also have some form of background and foundation that you're adding on. So if it's a brand new topic, then read through the previous year's information. So the study section actually begins before you actually sit down by yourself and you're studying. So what this means is the day before your lecture, go through the information that is going to be covered in the lecture the next day. So that's looking through videos, reading the prerequisite reading, reading through the presentation if it's been made available to you, and making notes as you go. It doesn't have to be extensive studying, but just like 30 minutes of browsing through what you're going to be expecting the following day. So that'll be the first time that you're going through that information. Then the following day, you're in the lecture, be engaged. Do not waste class time, because this is where you get 50% of your marks from just listening in class. So in class, you're going to be more focused because one, you know the information that is going to be covered. As a result, you can ask questions, you can follow through with what the lecturer is saying because you know where all the information is. And also you can take note of the things that the lecturer is focusing on, because lecturers love overemphasizing topics and questions that will come in the test. So if you listen carefully, you'll be able to take notes and put marks on the most important things that will come up in the test. So that's the second time you're seeing the information. Then after class, preferably within the first hour after class or even at the end of the day, go through that lecture and just rereading the information, making sure that you fully understand what was spoken about. And if you're still not sure about what the lecturer was saying, which you should have clarified in class, but if you're still unsure about something, then watch extra YouTube videos, or just watching the YouTube videos to add on extra information. But the most important thing that you need to be doing at this point is writing questions that you might get in the test. So you need to think like an examiner. Listen or remember what the lecturer was saying, what they were emphasizing on, and create questions for that lecture that you had, because you'll be using those questions as your revision. So this is your third time looking at this information. And then another day, or probably the following day or 2 days after, when you're revising the information, you'll be asking yourself those questions that you wrote down, and that is what we call active recall. So passively reading, highlighting, and making notes of your notes has been proven that it does not help with your studying. The best way to study is active recall. And how you activate that active recall is by asking yourself questions and trying to remember what you wrote down. So that is why it's important that you have written down those questions and then you're answering them. So when you're making your cue cards or your summary notes, please only do it after you've gone the first 3 or 4 steps. So up to the point where you write down your questions, then only after that should you be making your cue cards and your summary notes, because you'll be able to make the simplest and the most condensed notes ever, because you've gone through the information 4 times. You know what is the most important, and you can include that in your summary sheets. And if you're clever, you can turn your questions into your summary sheets. So you can just write down the question and the answer, or your cue cards is the question and the answer and the explanation. Other things that you need to be aware of when you're studying is obviously avoid distractions. So your environment matters the most here. For me, when I'm in the library, I'm the most motivated because I'm seeing other people studying, and as a result, I'll be motivated to study also. So make sure that your environment is quiet, no distractions, remove your phone, turn off notifications, that sort of thing. Another thing is what is known as spaced repetition. So there's a thing that is called the forgetting curve. The longer the time period between the time you first saw the information and the next time you revisit, during that period, there's a process where you're forgetting the information. So the more time you visit that information, the more you actually remember it. So you need to capitalize on that. So let's say you're at the lecture today, you revise it after class, and then the following day you can revise it again. Or if the week is really busy, then just revisit the information at the end of the week, or just every single day look at those cue cards so that you try and remember the information. And that is why you can use apps like Anki. So Anki, you study the cue card and then you rate it how well you know it. If you don't know it as well, you will see that cue card frequently, and if you know something well, then it comes back a little less. And it uses like the color coding system of red, orange, and green. So red would be you don't know the information at all, and therefore you need to revisit it again. Then orange is you somewhat know the information, but you need more help on it. And then green, you know the information and you don't need to revisit it as often. So using Anki is really useful, but you yourself, you can go through the topic and then rate the topic red, orange, and green. And then again, I'm going to keep reiterating this point. You need to match the type of studying that you're doing with your energy level. If something is easy for you, you understand it quickly, then you can do it in times when you're not as active and you're slightly tired, but you can still focus. And then tasks that are hard for you or time consuming, then you do it in the times where you're most active. So when it comes to the mindset, the first thing is consistency is everything. Studying a little every day is a lot easier and much more enjoyable than trying to sit for 4 to 8 hours on a single day trying to study. As a result, if you want to go for the long run and actually stick to your study routine, then schedule it for an hour and a half every single day. It's a lot more manageable that way. Second thing is try to cultivate deep work. Don't try to be shallow and you're distracted, because when you're studying, it's quality over quantity. Yes, you can spend 4 hours studying, but if you're actually not focused and you're actually not, zoned in, you will not remember much and that study session will be useless. So whenever you're getting to study, try to cultivate that zone where you're in it, you're so excited and you just focused. I know it's not always going to be easy, but try to find ways to make it enjoyable. Try to make it as satisfying as possible by giving yourself rewards at the end of the day and just making sure that you're in an environment that will allow you to be motivated to study. So the third mindset shift that you need to do is you need to be cultivating self-discipline over motivation. Motivation provides short-term boost of momentum that can quickly burn out, whereas discipline is a learned method of maintaining productivity over time and sustaining a clear pathway towards achieving your goals. And as a result, that's why it's important for you to be creating those routines so that getting into your study habit is a lot more automatic and you don't have to force yourself and fight yourself to get into it, because motivation will burn up. There's just days where watching a motivational video is not going to help you, and as a result, you need to have the discipline that no matter what, I need to be studying. And the last mind shift tip that I can give you is you need to study for your midterm tests over your exams. But your midterms count towards what is known as a cumulative assessment mark. And as a result, if your cumulative assessment mark is high, even if things go south with your exam, your CAM mark will still save you and you'll still be able to pass. So the higher your CAM mark, the less effort you essentially need to put into exams. Obviously, you're putting equal amounts of effort, but I'm just saying, should things go south in your exam, you have that safety net with your camera. So these are the study tips that I've learned at the University of YouTube. I hope you find them useful and you'll be able to implement them into your daily study routine as the academic year goes by. But like I've said in my previous videos, what doesn't bend will break. As a result, you need to roll with the punches. You're not always going to be motivated to study. You're not always going to have time to study on a daily basis because schedules change, things just come out of nowhere, but you need to be able to roll with the punches and just start over and reset every single day and continue being consistent every single day. So I really hope that this series has really helped you in your preparation for the new academic year. If you have missed any videos, don't forget to catch up on those. I'll link them over here, but you can also find the playlist down in the description box. Until next week, Friday, 12 p.m. South African time, have an awesome semester, guys. Bye.